As a business owner a competitive advantage? So this is a real question, and this is something that I've been thinking a lot about lately. So the reason this is coming up is I've noticed that when people have been leaving reviews for Business Video School, or telling other people about their experience, one of the things that comes up a lot is the kind of stuff that I consider to be basic competence, right? Like, well, I ask questions and I get answers, right? Or, the things that they say are going to happen, happen at the times they're scheduled at and things like that. And so I've been starting to think about this a little bit, and I was kind of wondering, like, how do we get to this point? And is this something that we can sort of strategically utilize in our businesses? So first of all, what does it mean to be competent? Well, I think most people kind of know what this is, right? It means having the necessary ability, knowledge, or skill to do something successfully. So you would expect that when you employ a company, when you do business with a business of some kind, that they're going to be competent, that they're going to successfully execute and do the thing that you're expecting. But what's really kind of fascinating about this is that doesn't seem to be true anymore. It doesn't seem like a lot of the folks that sign up with a company necessarily expect to be satisfied. And one of the reasons I think this has happened is monopolies, right? If you look at a lot of the largest companies in the world, a lot of them are monopolies or they're oligopolies, right? There's several companies that sort of completely control an industry. Maybe the most famous example of this is a little bit dated at this point, but the cable companies, right? I mean, we remember even to this day, a lot of us that still have cable have a lot of frustration with the customer service you get. Or in my experience, I will say social media companies tend to fall into this category now, where if you have a question, you have a challenge, you run into something, get locked out of your account, no one will talk to you. There's no way to contact these businesses. That isn't, in my mind, competent, right? I mean, that is kind of the experience of working with a company and not having them able to give you really sort of a basic level of service. And so that leads us to an opportunity, right? Which is that I think a lot of folks, because of that, because they have this frustrating experience with big businesses, they think, hey, if I work with a smaller company, I might actually know the owner, I might have some sort of direct connection to them, and I expect them to deliver on my expectations, right? So this is one of the things that I really think it's unfortunate that it's a competitive advantage. It's something that can differentiate your business. But for those of you that know what you're doing, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to distinguish yourself, as well as to potentially turn your customers into advocates, into people who are out there promoting you and what you do, and spreading the word about the fact that, hey, if you hire this company, you're going to get what you expect. So I think the question I have for you here is that this isn't something that we do perfectly. I'm not here to brag about our business necessarily, but it is something we focus on quite a bit. And so what I want you to think about a little bit is, what does a prospective customer expect first from your industry? Every industry is different, right? So for instance, we work with a lot of real estate agents. I mean, there's obviously an expectation of what kind of service you're going to get, but you may not know all the details here. And so this is something that if you've ever had issues with this, if you've ever gotten a bad review, if you ever feel like you dropped the ball during a transaction, and whatever you do for a living, you want to look at this first, which is, what are the bare expectations of your industry? If somebody hires a real estate agent, what do they expect to get from that person? And then you got to go a step further, and you have to ask yourself, what promises are you making? What is your business saying to the marketplace? So this is one thing I think, especially a lot of real estate agents sort of mess up here, is they'll talk about things that I would consider basic competency, right? Things like, I'm going to answer my phone. I get back to my customers quickly. That's fine. It's good to talk about those things in your marketing if that is something that differentiates you. Unfortunately, we also then see that backfire, because if your marketing message is, hey, I'm going to answer my phone at any time of the day or night, or hey, I'm going to be easy to get a hold of, you're setting an expectation that you'll always be easy to get a hold of, right? And so that's the second part of this, is you've got, in terms of delivering a competent experience to your customers and giving them the kind of experience that's going to wow them and get them to go tell everybody else they know about you, you got to start first with, what are the industry expectations? And then what are you promising on top of that? Now, that might be an opportunity to improve, because number one, you might find areas where you can say, you know what, I'm promising, for instance, to get things done a lot faster. Well, I can focus in on that. I can optimize my processes for speed. Maybe I'm even willing to sacrifice a little bit of quality to optimize for speed, because that is what I'm saying. it's also an opportunity to look, we kind of go back in and look at your strengths. What are your core competencies? What are the things you know you can deliver on every single time, and adjust that marketing message? So maybe it's not about answering your phone at any time of the day or night, but it's about getting back to people within 3 hours, within business hours, right? And the specificity of that, saying that in your marketing is also going to help you cut through the noise, right? So that's something you got to kind of think about here is, what are the industry expectations? What am I promising on top of it? And am I delivering on both levels, not just one, right? Because there are going to be expectations people have that you are not setting. And then there's going to be expectations that you are setting, all right? So let's just take a snapshot of your business for a second here, right? If you were to look at what you're doing and you were to analyze, hey, am I consistently delivering on my promises? What if there are gaps, right? How do you fix that kind of stuff? And I think we all go through at least periods where we do have these gaps. Well, here's one thing I want you to think about. You got to, if you're having any issues here, right? If you're getting bad reviews every now and then, if you don't have customers coming back to you as repeat business, if they're not sending you referrals, you have to ask yourself, are you focusing too much on generating new customers instead of impressing your current ones? I'm going to volunteer myself here. This is one area where I definitely know I've made this mistake before, which is to basically go out and just try to get in front of new people as much as possible while neglecting people that were already working with me. Because especially when you're first getting started, you may only have a few. Well, what I've realized since then is if you wow those few people, if you give them an amazing experience, the benefits are significant, and it's totally worth sacrificing being in front of new people to deliver an amazing experience for the few that you are working with, right? So if you focus on that, what does that then open up to you, right? What is that going to give you as a benefit? And so I think really what this comes down to is you're going to have an opportunity to generate referrals, and you're also going to have an opportunity to generate testimonials, right? So as you change this, so let's think about this for a second. Here's a question I challenge you to think about is, where are you being active versus impactful, right? Where are you doing things in your customer service experience as the client's going through this journey with you? Where are you simply doing stuff versus actually having a significant impact, right? Are there meetings you're hosting that aren't actually impactful, right? Are there conversations you're having? Is there content you're creating? What parts of your business do you have this issue in where you are staying busy, but you're not getting something done? I mean, this is something in today's day and age, is 2023, everything's efficient. I mean, we are as productive as we've ever been as a species, right? There should be no excuse to have not enough time to get everything done. So that often opens up some time in your schedule to go back and look at your customer service processes, right? This is where I love video. Video, I think, can actually open up a lot of time and effort in your schedule and make you more impactful because you're communicating more effectively. And I'm talking about video messages, emails, texts, things like that. This doesn't have to be public facing video, right? So it's not just about that though. So you got to think about where are these things you're doing from that perspective. Another one to think about is what about your marketing efforts? I mean, this is, especially in real estate, this is a big time suck. And this is where I think a lot of agents miss the point. They're out there trying to get in front of new people when they already have a database of a few hundred. So competence can be about what's happening with your current customers. It can also be about how you're communicating with your prospects, right? If somebody signs up because they downloaded a guide and they get added to your database and they expect to continue to see stuff from you, to continue to get market updates from you, right? To continue to hear from you about how you're great at what you do, and they never hear anything else because you called them once or twice and you stopped trying to contact them, that's another form of this problem, right? So you got to kind of go back to square one if you're having issues with this at all and ask yourself, where along that journey am I dropping the ball? Where am I putting efforts into things that are not giving me a good return on my time or money? And can I take that time out and put it into something else, right? So as you start to make these adjustments, there might be a period in here where you get a few less leads, right? Or if business doesn't feel like it's moving quite as fast or quite they're growing quite as effectively, but in exchange, you're able to go in, you're able to refine your customer service, you're able to get people to a point where they're much happier, and in the long run, that's going to have a massive benefit, right? So if you're able to do that, if you're able to find some of these places where you're kind of wasting time and you could be more impactful, the last step here is to then turn that into marketing, right? That's where this starts to have an obvious payout for you. So I would expect if you took a month to refine some of this, you cut out some of your pointless networking maybe you're doing, you cut out some of the time you're spending, I don't know, making content that's not getting any results, and you focus in on some of your processes internally and improve them, then it becomes, how do I maximize that, right? So one thing I really recommend is, number one, have a script for requesting referrals when something goes well, right? Somebody says, "Oh man, I'm so glad you did this for me. Like, this was a great experience. Hey, that's awesome. Thank you so much for saying that. Can I ask you a small favor? Like, since you're kind of excited about this right now, could you hop over onto Google and just say a couple of those sentences into a review on my Google page? Like, that would help me tremendously. Here's the link. You just got to click it. Click on write review, and everything you just said was perfect, right? If you just were to say that, that'd be amazing. Now, the more specific steps you give them, the easier you make it. If you give them the link to that place, if you tell them what buttons to click, if you tell them your expectations are really low, you just want them to say exactly what they just said, they're likely to go do it. And you got to do it when they say these things, right? So when that person says good things to you by email, text, over a conversation, whatever it is, ask them to do it right then and there, even if it is a little bit weird, even if they're going to be on their phone for 2 minutes while you're standing next to them, get it done. The other side of that is also have automated processes for it, right? So you can have pre-written emails, you can have templates, you could have something that's an automation you send them through. You could have a pre-scripted email that's just sitting in as a draft in your email account, whatever it is, but be ready to request those reviews, and also have this as something that's regularly sort of put out there to folks, right? So if there's another version of this, is at a certain point in the process or transaction, that's where you want to ask for that testimony, right? So for an agent, a lot of times they'll do that at the closing table. So everything's done, they're signing the paperwork, they're getting the keys to the house, everybody's really excited. That's where they're going to ask for that testimonial. You may want to let your clients know you're going to ask if it's a video, because you're going to be recording them, and they need to know that in advance, right? So that's a big part of this too, is when you get that opportunity, ask for the testimonial. The final part then is to then use those in your business, right? So once you have the reviews, once you have people out there saying, hey, if you work with this company, you're going to get what you expect. This is a company you can trust. How do you then broadcast that to more people? So take screenshots of the reviews, ask for a video version wherever you can, and incorporate it into your marketing. Put it in your emails, put it in your ads, put them on your website, spread it out there as much as you possibly can. But just remember, and this is the slight warning, is that once you do this, once you've improved your customer service, you've turned that into testimonials and reviews, and you started to market those testimonials and reviews, you have to consistently deliver on that level of service, right? So you got to continue to be competent. So as you move forward and this helps you start to grow your business, remember, think about habits and systems. Where can you put habits and systems in place to ensure that you're continuing to be competent at that level, right? So I just want to share some thoughts on that. I'm curious if you disagree or agree with that. So let me know in the comments. And maybe what's one thing that you do in your business to try to stand above and beyond, right? Is there anything you do to sort of stand out from the pack and to show people that you're able to provide customer service at a higher level? I think moving forward, especially as the world just gets noisier and busier and crazier, and there's more tools and tricks and techniques and a million things to think about, we're going to continue to see basic competence, delivering on a promise, continue to be important and continue to become more and more of an advantage. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this again. Let me know in the comments what's one thing you do to go above and beyond, and whether or not you think that basic competence is something that will continue to be a business advantage, or if you think, hey, you know what, in the next 5 years, everybody's going to be really good at delivering consistent customer service, and this is just going to become a basic expectation. Maybe that's the case, right? I'm curious what you think. All right, thank you so much for watching.